Disclaimer: this story explores mature emotional themes and complex interpersonal dynamics between adult characters. There is no explicit content, but viewer discretion is advised. It started with a key, rusted, old, and tucked under a chipped ceramic mug on Mrs. Halley's desk. I didn't mean to take it. Not really. I'd been searching for a blank hall pass to avoid Coach Meyer's 7th period meltdown, and there it was. Just sitting there. Something about it felt out of place, almost forgotten, like it had been waiting for someone to remember it existed. My name's Cole Jensen. 24. First year out of college, barely surviving student teaching at Millridge High. You know, the kind of place where the vending machines work better than half the staff. I wasn't supposed to have keys to the building after hours. And I definitely wasn't supposed to be alone with the class dog, especially not that dog. He's a huge golden retriever named Jasper, officially assigned to the school's special education department, unofficially loved by everyone. He had this way of curling up beside the most overwhelmed kid and just being there, like a living reset button. I didn't expect him to like me, but somehow, we clicked. Maybe he sensed that I wasn't as put together as I tried to act in front of the kids. That Friday, the school was a ghost town by 5:15. Flu season had decimated the staff, and the janitors were off early for a union meeting. The halls echoed with that weird buzz of emptiness, lockers humming quietly like they missed the chaos. I told myself I just wanted to leave something for Mrs. Halley in her office, a thank you note, some paperwork. But really, I wanted to see Jasper. He was there, curled in his usual corner like a tired king. He wagged his tail once when I opened the door, and I swear, he smiled. I sat down next to him, and for the first time all week, I let my guard down. I talked, really talked. About the pressure, the imposter syndrome, the time I almost burst into tears after a student threw a chair and everyone looked at me for answers. Jasper just leaned into me, heavy and warm, like he got it. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that someone else was in the building. The sound came soft at first. A squeak? A footstep? I looked up, heart thudding. Nothing. Just the hallway shadows stretching long under flickering fluorescent lights. I stood, startled, as Jasper's ears perked up. That's when the door creaked. Not slammed, just creaked, like someone wasn't sure whether to come in or walk away. And then she appeared. Mrs. Halley. Late 40s, sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who knew the gossip before it left the lips that started it. She was holding her phone, finger hovering just over the screen, her eyes flicking between me and Jasper, and something I didn't quite understand yet. I didn't expect anyone here, she said, her voice unreadable. Neither did I. But what caught me off guard wasn't her presence, it was the expression on her face. Not anger. Not suspicion. Recognition. She knew something. And suddenly, I didn't know anything at all. She didn't say anything else. Just stood there, phone still poised like it had somewhere more important to be. I opened my mouth to explain, what, exactly, I wasn't sure, but no sound came out. Jasper looked between us and let out a low, questioning whine. Mrs. Halley finally stepped inside and shut the door behind her. Click. You know, she said quietly, he doesn't usually take to new staff this quickly. Especially men. I blinked. He didn't seem to mind me. That's what worries me, she replied, almost too softly. Her eyes scanned the room, not accusing, but thoughtful. Almost protective. I remembered what one of the other teachers had said in the break room, that Jasper was more than a therapy dog. He'd once belonged to Mrs. Halley's son, the one who didn't graduate. I didn't ask for details then. Now I wondered why no one ever did. I didn't mean to, I started, standing awkwardly. She waved a hand. Relax. You're not in trouble. That should have been a relief, but it didn't feel like one. It felt like the start of something bigger I didn't understand yet. You're Cole, right? From Harrison State? I nodded. She already knew that. Everyone did. First-year teachers are like blood in the water to high school politics. She stepped forward, crouched beside Jasper, and stroked his ears. You remind me of my son, she said. Too smart for your own good. Always keeping your pain somewhere no one can reach. Her words hit deeper than I expected. I hadn't told anyone, couldn't, about the panic attacks. The sense that I was drowning behind the desk while pretending to lead. I'd buried it under lesson plans, extra credit, and polite smiles. And yet, here she was, reading right through it. I see more than you think, Mr. Jensen, she added, finally meeting my eyes. The question is, what are you seeing that brought you back here tonight? I couldn't answer. Not honestly. Because the truth was, it wasn't just Jasper. It was the silence. The peace. The way the building, empty and quiet, finally felt like a place I belonged. But something else was pulling me back too. Something I hadn't fully faced. A photo on her desk I'd glanced at earlier that week. A boy with Jasper. Smiling, bright-eyed, maybe 17. And for a moment, he looked just like me. Before I could ask, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her jaw tightening. I have to take this, she said, rising quickly. But Cole? Yes? Be careful what doors you open in this place. Some weren't meant to be unlocked. She walked out without another word. And I was left there, alone again, with Jasper, the fading scent of vanilla hand lotion, and 1,000 unspoken questions that suddenly mattered more than they should have. The next morning, I got to school early, earlier than usual. The building had that strange pre-dawn quiet, like it was holding its breath before the day began. I passed the office, pretending not to notice the slight flicker of recognition from the receptionist. Word traveled fast here. Jasper wasn't in his usual spot. That unsettled me more than I expected. I found Mrs. Halley in the faculty lounge, staring into her coffee like it held answers. She didn't look surprised to see me. Where's Jasper? I asked. Her pause was too long. He's staying with a family friend for a few days. No explanation. No further details. Just gone. Before I could press further, the lounge door opened. Another teacher walked in, Mr. Keene, guidance counselor, mid-30s, slick but kind in a calculated way. He gave me a nod, then turned to Hallie. You talked to the principal yet? He asked. About? She replied, not missing a beat. Last night. Camera picked something up in your hallway. I froze. Just a glitch, she said calmly. I'll handle it. She glanced at me, eyes unreadable. Mr. Keene followed her look and gave me a polite, curious smile. Something going on I should know about? He asked. No, we both answered, too quickly, too in sync. Keene lingered a moment longer, then left. As soon as he was gone, I whispered, why didn't you tell me there were cameras? There aren't in that room. Just outside it. Don't panic. Easy for her to say. You need to understand something, she continued, low and deliberate. People here smile to your face and report you by lunch. The fewer questions you ask, the longer you survive. But I wasn't, I know, she interrupted. But not everyone will believe that. Especially if they find out why Jasper's really here. Her voice dropped almost to a whisper. He's not just a therapy dog, Cole. He's a witness. I couldn't focus in class. My voice cracked mid-lecture, hands twitching as I wrote notes on the board, feeling the weight of eyes that weren't there. Every glance from a colleague felt like it held a hidden question. Every shadow in the hallway made my pulse spike. Jasper being gone had left a silence that rang louder than any student outburst. That afternoon, Mrs. Halley didn't show up for her usual department meeting. Neither did Keen. By the time the final bell rang, I'd made my decision. I needed answers, and I knew where to find them. The key. I still had it. Somehow, after everything, I'd never returned it. My hand shook as I unlocked her office again, the old door creaking just like before. Everything was the same, except one thing. The photo of her son and Jasper was gone. In its place was a sealed manila envelope. My name was written on it. Inside, a flash drive. No note. No explanation. Just the quiet hum of something being set in motion. I hesitated, then plugged it into her desktop. The screen blinked. A grainy video file loaded, a hallway camera angle, time-stamped the night I was there with Jasper. It showed me. Sitting. Talking. Crying. Then, at the edge of the frame, barely visible, Keen. Watching. Frozen. The screen cut out. I was still staring at it when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. Keen stood in the doorway, expression unreadable, one hand in his coat pocket. Looking for something, Cole? My breath caught. I think you already found it, he said, stepping in and closing the door behind him. But the thing about secrets, he smiled, thin and sharp. They always come with a price. Keen didn't move from the doorway. The silence between us stretched tight, brittle. I could hear my own pulse like a drumbeat in my ears. I don't know what you think you saw, I said quietly. His eyes flicked to the computer screen, then back to me. You shouldn't be here, Cole. Not tonight. That footage, why were you there? I could ask you the same. I was with Jasper. That's it. He gave a low, humorless chuckle and stepped forward, closing the distance. You really think this is about you and a dog? I didn't answer. My throat had gone dry. You think Hallie let that footage sit around by accident? That she just left it on her desktop like a welcome mat? I don't know what she's doing, I said, struggling to hold my voice steady. But I'm starting to think neither do you. That stopped him. For a second, he just stared at me. Then his smile vanished. You think you've been pulled into something small, he said. But you've walked into the center of a war that's been quiet too long. He reached into his coat pocket. I tensed, but all he pulled out was a folded photo. He tossed it onto the desk in front of me. It was old, faded. A group of boys. Teenagers. Maybe 6 of them, all in Millridge High jerseys. One of them was Hallie's son, just a little older than in the other picture I'd seen. Another one was Keen. You were friends, I said, confused. He nodded. Until one of us wasn't. What happened? Keen looked at the picture for a long time. What always happens? Someone got hurt. Someone got blamed. And someone stayed quiet. He leaned in, his voice low. You're not the first new teacher Hallie has brought into this building and handed a key. You're just the first one who figured it out before it was too late. I felt cold all over. What do you mean? He didn't answer directly. Did she ever mention how her son died? I shook my head. No. Just that he didn't graduate. He didn't graduate, Keene said. Because he was found in the pool. Drowned. The official report said accident. But the hallway cameras were wiped. And Jasper, he was there. Wet. Shaking. Locked in the supply closet. My stomach turned. Only 3 people had keys to that closet back then, Keene continued. Hallie. The janitor. And the boy's best friend. Who was that? He stared at me. Then smiled. I think you already know. I pushed the photo away, rising. Why are you telling me this now? Because Hallie's trying to pin it on me. Again. What? She couldn't let it go. So she brought in someone new, young, idealistic, broken in the right way. Just like her son. She fed you breadcrumbs, made sure you bonded with Jasper, made sure you felt seen. But the minute you got too close, too curious, she left you a trap. I backed up a step. That's insane. Is it? She gave you the key. The office. The file. Why? To help you? Or to bait me into reacting? I didn't know what to say. The pieces weren't fitting cleanly, but something about his tone, his calm, calculated urgency, chilled me. Look, he said, stepping toward me again. There's something else. Something you haven't seen yet. He reached into his coat again, slower this time, and pulled out a flash drive. This one's not from her office. It's from the old district archives. Took me months to get it. What's on it? He looked me straight in the eyes. Proof. A sound interrupted us, a soft knock. 3 sharp raps on the office door. Keene froze. She's here. How do you know? She always knocks 3 times. I turned toward the door, heart racing. She can't know I gave you this, he whispered, thrusting the flash drive into my palm. Don't trust anything she says. Then he slipped out the back exit into the hall just as the office door opened. Mrs. Hallie stepped in, calm as ever, hair pulled back, phone in hand. Cole, she said with a gentle smile. You're still here. I nodded, slipping the flash into my pocket. Yeah. I was just finishing something up. She looked around the room. Funny. I don't remember leaving my office unlocked today. I forced a smile. Must have been maintenance. Or maybe I used the key by habit. She didn't respond right away. Just watched me. Studied me. You look pale, she finally said. You okay? I nodded. Too quickly. Good, she said, stepping in and closing the door behind her. Because I need you to see something. She pulled out her phone and tapped it. A video began to play. It was the same hallway footage. The same angle. But longer. This time, it showed me talking to Jasper. Then the door opening again. A shadow stepping in. Me not noticing. Someone moving behind me. And then, frozen on frame, the face. It wasn't Keene. It was Hallie. Standing just behind me. Watching. She paused the video and looked up at me. I told you Jasper was a witness, she said quietly. But I didn't tell you what he witnessed. She leaned closer. He didn't trust Keene after the drowning. Not ever. But with you, he curled up like he'd found someone worth protecting again. I couldn't breathe. My head spun. Why show me this now? Because I need you to understand what's coming, she said. And how careful you'll need to be if you want to make it out of this school with your reputation, and your future, intact. What are you saying? I'm saying Keen will do anything to control the narrative. And you're his new leverage. I'm offering you the chance to step away before it gets worse. Why should I believe you? She stepped back, her expression hardening. Because I've buried one boy already. I won't bury another. She left the office, her perfume lingering in the air like the last note of a warning. I stood frozen. Between two stories. Two agendas. Two truths that didn't line up. In my pocket, the flash drive burned like a secret waiting to detonate. I didn't sleep. By morning, I'd watched Keen's flash drive twice. The footage was older, from over a decade ago. It showed the same hallway where Hallie's son had drowned. A blurry figure walked past the camera, fumbling with a key. Seconds later, another followed, clearer. It was Keen. And in the background? Barking. Frantic. Jasper, locked behind a door. But the worst part wasn't who entered. It was who didn't come out. The next day, I requested a private meeting with the school board. Hallie and Keen were both called in separately. I told the truth. About the key. The footage. The warnings. The lies. Jasper sat quietly by my side the whole time, tail still, eyes watchful. As if he knew. When Hallie entered the room and saw me, her expression didn't falter. She simply nodded, as if this was the ending she expected all along. I only wanted someone who would see him, she said softly, voice steady but eyes glassy. Someone who'd understand why he mattered. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The board reviewed the evidence. An investigation was launched. Keen was placed on immediate leave. That night, as I packed up my things, Jasper curled at my feet, same as always. Loyal. Silent. But when I turned out the light to leave for the last time, something caught my eye on Hallie's desk. A sealed envelope. My name again. Inside, a photo. Her son, Jasper, and a teenage Keen, arms slung around each other, all smiles. On the back, in faded ink, you'll never know the full story. But thank you for trying. Weeks passed. Keen resigned quietly. No charges, but no return. The board found enough inconsistencies in his past to sever ties. Mrs. Hallie, meanwhile, took a leave of absence, no longer under investigation, but deeply changed. The grief she'd carried all those years was finally exposed to the light, no longer hidden behind hallway smiles and passive remarks. As for me, I stayed. I kept teaching. Not because I had to, but because I understood why I started. It wasn't about being a hero. It wasn't about fixing the past. It was about showing up, for kids, for colleagues, even for a broken school that had buried too many secrets. Jasper, now officially retired from therapy duty, spends his afternoons napping under my desk. A living reminder of what truth and trust look like, quiet, constant, and earned. And Hallie? Before she left, she handed me a final file, student records, old letters, bits of her son's life. So it's not forgotten, she said. There wasn't one villain. Just a long, tangled history of silence, pain, and misplaced loyalty. In the end, we all learned something. Secrets don't stay buried. And healing doesn't come from hiding, it comes from facing the past, even when it hurts.